expansive and level landscapes of North Africa facilitated swift maneuverability for both Axis and Allied forces during World War II. Nevertheless, this terrain also posed specific difficulties, particularly regarding anti-tank warfare. Conventional anti-tank guns were frequently sluggish and unwieldy, diminishing their effectiveness in the dynamic and rapid desert conditions. The German response to the challenges of anti-tank warfare in the North African desert was the creation of the 7.62 cm FKR auf gepanzerte Selbstfahrlafette Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6-3. This mobile anti-tank vehicle was a makeshift solution based on the chassis of the Sd.Kfz.6 half-track and armed with a captured Soviet 7.62 cm gun. Although it had limited protection and a small production run of only 9 vehicles, it played a valuable role in the anti-tank arsenal of Germany. With its increased firepower, it proved effective against most Allied tanks at the time. However, its impact on the overall war was modest because of its limited numbers. In response to the series of defeats suffered by Italian forces in North Africa in 1940, the Germans decided to bolster their ally and prevent the British from gaining control of the region. This led to the deployment of the Deutsches Afrikakorps, or the German Africa Corps, also known as DAK. Led by Erwin Rommel, the German forces swiftly turned the tide in their favor and pushed the overstretched British army into a retreat. The North African front was characterized by dynamic and fluid warfare, with both the Axis and Allied forces constantly maneuvering to gain an advantage. In such a fast-paced environment, traditional anti-tank weapons like towed guns faced significant challenges. The solution came in the form of self-propelled anti-tank vehicles, which offered several advantages. These vehicles were highly mobile and able to keep pace with the fast-moving German army. Unlike towed guns, they provided greater flexibility and could be quickly deployed and brought into action, eliminating the time-consuming setup procedures associated with towed guns. Additionally, the demand for stronger firepower was crucial, particularly against well-protected British tanks like the Matilda II. Due to the urgent nature of the project and the lack of readily available options, the Germans had to resort to improvisation. They needed to mount a powerful gun on either a truck or a half-track chassis as quickly as possible. Although using a truck chassis would have been more cost-effective, there were concerns about its ability to bear the weight of the gun, crew, and additional armor. On the other hand, a half-track chassis offered greater strength and mobility, making it a more suitable choice for the improvised anti-tank vehicle. 2 options were considered for the main armament: the German 5 cm Pak-38 and the Soviet 7.62 cm Fk-36R. The latter was a Soviet M1936 F-22 divisional gun, which had been captured in large numbers during the early stages of Operation Barbarossa in the Eastern Front. After a brief evaluation of the gun's performance, the Germans were satisfied and decided to incorporate it into their arsenal. The gun was designated as the 7.62 cm Fk-36R, with the Fk standing for Feldkanon, or field gun. And while intended for field gun duties, it soon became evident that the weapon possessed excellent anti-tank capabilities. As the development of the 7.5 cm Pak-40 was still underway and mass production was not expected to begin until 1941, the decision to utilize the 7.62 cm Fk-36R proved to be a practical solution, leaving the need for urgently deploying vehicles armed with the 7.62. It was decided that a modified version of the Sd.Kfz.6 half-track chassis would be used for this purpose. The initial plan called for a limited production of about 20 vehicles, provided the feasibility of the entire assembly was confirmed. However, for reasons that remain unclear, the production quantity was reduced to just 9. The responsibility for constructing the prototype was assigned to Alkit, and they successfully completed the task in late August or early September. The prototype was subsequently transported to a research center in Kummersdorf for testing, which took place in September 1941. The design of the prototype was rather basic, featuring a newly added box-shaped superstructure positioned on the former cargo bay of the half-track. This superstructure served as a housing for the crew and the gun. To ensure a proper fit, the trailing legs of the gun had to be shortened, and the front driver's compartment remained unchanged and fully exposed. On September 10th, a series of evaluation and firing tests were carried out on the prototype. The firing trials involved shooting numerous rounds at various elevations and traverse angles to assess the performance of the gun assembly. No significant issues were identified during these tests, and the half-track chassis proved capable of withstanding the recoil generated by the 76.2mm gun, confirming its suitability for the intended role. Overall, the tests were successful and the prototype exhibited promising results, indicating the project was moving in the right direction. Although the overall design of the prototype was considered acceptable, certain modifications were deemed necessary. Initially, an armored cover over the radiator was intended, but it was ultimately omitted. Another issue identified was that the rear superstructure armor posed difficulties in removing or replacing the gun barrel during maintenance. To rectify this, a hatch was added at the rear of the superstructure. Due to the urgent nature of the project, it was made of soft steel, and it was pretty well known that it would not provide any real protection for the crew. The self-propelled vehicle armed with the 7.62cm FKR gun on the Sd.Kfz.6-3 chassis was officially designated as 7.62cm FKR auf gepanzerte Selbstfahrlafette Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6-3. It is important to note that the nickname Diana is often associated with this vehicle, but in reality it is unrelated. The nickname Diana is more commonly associated with a different Alket project from 1942, which aimed to enhance the original design by incorporating improved armament, protection, and reduced crew requirements. However, no production order was issued for this upgraded version, and its existence was relatively brief. Furthermore, some sources suggest that the British forces in North Africa may have bestowed the nickname Diana upon the vehicle, further adding to the confusion. Due to the urgent and improvised nature of the project and its development, just a total of 9 modified Sd.Kfz.6 chassis were ordered. These chassis were produced by Bessing NAG and delivered between October and November 1941. The final assembly of the vehicles was entrusted to Alket, the main company responsible for the production. The vehicle was based on the modified chassis of the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6 half-track, specifically the BN9B subversion. This subversion featured redesigned suspension using torsion bar units, the addition of 2 extra road wheels, and the installation of a more powerful 115 horsepower Maybach NL54 engine. With this upgraded engine and weighing approximately 10.5 tons, the vehicle was capable of reaching a max speed of 50 km per hour. The original cargo bay of the Sd.Kfz.6 was replaced with a new fighting compartment, which featured a simple yet bulky box-shaped superstructure. The front of the superstructure remained open, with 2 smaller armored plates connected to the sidewalls, providing limited frontal protection. The main gun was positioned in this area. The only significant form of protection from frontal attacks was the gun shield itself. The superstructure had an open top, leaving the crew completely exposed from above. In certain circumstances, such as harsh desert weather, the crew could cover the open top with canvas. The armored compartment of the vehicle featured large hatches on each side to allow the crew to enter their positions. Additionally, a large hatch made of soft steel was installed on the rear armor plate. This rear hatch, hinged at the bottom edge, served multiple purposes. Its main function was to provide the crew with convenient access for the replacement of the gun barrel and other components. It also served as a means to eject spent cartridges. The armor thickness of the superstructure was a mere 4.5mm, which was pretty useless for protection. The thin armor was unable to withstand even ordinary machine gun fire, making the vehicle highly vulnerable to enemy attacks. The primary armament of the vehicle consisted of a shortened and bolted down Soviet 7.62cm field gun captured by the Germans. It had a traverse capability of 30 degrees in both directions and an elevation of -7 to +20 degrees. Its maximum armor penetration of 77mm at a distance of 1 kilometer proved highly effective against enemy tanks encountered in the North African theater. The gun, despite its effective anti-tank capabilities, was not well suited for its role in the vehicle. One of the main challenges was the arrangement of its traverse and elevation wheels. In this configuration, the traverse wheel was located on the left side along with the gun sights, while the elevation hand wheel was on the right. This layout made targeting quite challenging, particularly for the gunner who was situated on the left side. The vehicle boasted a significant storage capacity of 100 rounds in an ammunition bin positioned at the rear of the modified fighting compartment. If required, an additional 40 rounds could also be stored on a towed trailer. The crew complement for this vehicle was relatively large and included a commander, gunner, driver, loader, and 2 ammunition bearers. While the driver operated in an exposed position at the front, the rest of the crew was situated inside the enclosed fighting compartment. By the end of September 1941, an order was issued to initiate the necessary preparations for establishing a unit equipped with 9 of these vehicles. The completion of the vehicles was projected to be finalized by October 25th. In mid-November, a subsequent order was issued, directing the formation of 3 platoons, each with 3 vehicles. At the conclusion of December 1941, the 9 vehicles were transported from Germany to Italy. Subsequently, they were loaded onto ships and transported to Tripoli. On January 12, 1942, 6 of the vehicles arrived in Tripoli, followed by the remaining 3 in late February. The initial 6 were assigned to reinforce the 3rd Company of the 605th Anti-Tank Battalion, which was a component of the 90th Light Division. In addition to the 3-inch armed half-tracks, the 605th Anti-Tank Battalion was equipped with a minimum of 6 Panzerjäger I anti-tank vehicles, which were based on the Panzer I chassis and armed with a 4.7 cm gun. Following their deployment against the British in early 1942, the 6 initial vehicles experienced significant attrition. By February 10th, only 1 vehicle remained operational and the other were undergoing repairs. In March, with the arrival of 3 remaining vehicles, the complete unit was finally integrated into the 90th Light. Unfortunately, in April, 2 vehicles were deemed irreparable and were written off, although the specific reasons for their losses were not documented. By May 1942, despite experiencing losses in the previous month, the 605th Anti-Tank Battalion maintained 3 operational platoons with the 7.62 cm half-track. These platoons played a significant role in Unternehmen Venetia, an Axis offensive launched against British positions at Gazala in late May 1942. On May 28th, they achieved a notable success by repelling the tanks of the British 4th Armoured near El Adem. As a result of continued combat, the number of 3-inch half-tracks dwindled to 4 by June 8, 1942, with 1 undergoing repairs. By the beginning of July, only 1 vehicle remained operational, while 2 were non-operational. Later, at least 2 vehicles took place in the Axis capture of Tobruk. However, during the unsuccessful attempt to break the El Alamein line, another vehicle was lost. By the start of December 1942, the last surviving vehicle met its demise. Out of the 9 originally built, it is known that at least 1 vehicle was captured by the British in North Africa. That concludes our exploration of the improvised 7.62 cm FKR Auf gepanzerte Selbstfahrlafette Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6-3 and its usage during World War II. Feel free to share your thoughts on this unique vehicle in the comments section. As always, we appreciate your support, so consider subscribing to stay updated with our future content. If you'd like to contribute directly, you can also consider Patreon or PayPal, which helps us create even better videos for you. Until next time, stay tuned and keep following our updates.